Hello and welcome to another video. Today we're going to be doing a little bit of a different video than we typically do here on this channel, mostly because I cannot help myself with the release of Baldur's Gate 3. That's right, folks, almost 2 decades after the hit Baldur's Gate 2, we're getting a true sequel, and that's right, I don't count the Siege of Dragonspear expansion that came out recently. Now, this is actually not being made by BioWare, the initial makers of the Baldur's Gate series, and it's going to be made by Larian Studios, who make the Divinity Original Sin games. Now, what do we know about this game right now? Basically nothing, but today, with the official announcement of the game, they did release a new trailer, which, while it doesn't show us too much about the game, does have subtle hints of what may be the overall plot, and I think it would be fun if we went through it together, just to pick out a couple of those hidden details that you may have missed because you were looking away because of all the blood and gore. Now, the trailer starts off with a shot of what is likely Baldur's Gate, and I'm pretty confident in saying that it is, not just because the game is called Baldur's Gate, as in the second game, actually, we never went to the city at all, but it kind of fits all the geography that we know about the city. We know that there's a high city that we can see on the cliff over on the right of the screen. There's a harbor where more of the poor people live, which you can also see on the side of the screen. And you can also see the Flaming Fist Citadel, which is right in the bay there that we know is a hot spot for the Baldur's Gate franchise as well. And that we'll actually get some more confirmation in terms of the Flaming Fist later in the trailer. Now, in addition to this, just looking at the city as it is, we can definitely tell it's not doing so hot in the moment. If the ominous storm overhead wasn't enough to tell you that, we also have what looks to be like a bunch of fires, or at least smoke, going on in the city. There's more than like 7 or 8, and you can kind of hear those warning bells when you watch the shot like a normal person, and don't slow it down to see every frame like we're doing right now. In addition to this, if you look really closely at the bottom of the screen, you can see that the main gates of the city are wide open, and if you look even closer on the cement or flooring roads, whatever you want to call them, at the gate, you can actually see blood stains are staining all of that. So definitely not something great, and it's definitely something that's affecting the entire city. The final little detail that we can kind of glean from this shot too is that of all the ships that we can see in the harbor, most of them are stationed in the harbor, just probably what they normally would, but there are no ships actually coming into the city. All of the ships that are in the bay itself are actually pointed away from the city trying to leave, which also doesn't bode well for the situation. Now, moving on to our next shot, the first big detail that you guys may have missed that probably has a lot of significance to the story, it's going to be the symbol that you see pictured on the wall before we really get into the scene with our next main character. Now, looking at the symbol closely, we can see that it's a white skull with a hand overprinted on it. And with the hand, we see that a lot of the paint has kind of dribbled down to create an effect that kind of looks like tentacles that one might see with an Illithid. And it's my belief, as we know this soldier is later going to turn into an Illithid, that this is the symbol of the organization that kind of prepared this city for this future invasion, kind of softened it up a bit, and led to Baldur's Gate ultimate demise. So the next shot that we're basically going to focus on is where our main character of this shot, which does appear to be a Flaming Fist soldier, just judging by his flaming fist that you can see on his breastplate, isn't doing so hot. We can see he's having a really bad migraine. In addition to this, we also see a bunch of other soldiers who are doing even worse, and they're all laying on the ground. There's no obvious injury or way that we can tell that they died, but they all still have heads, so I think it's safe to say that they're not going to turn into Illithids like this guy. The only other real noticeable thing about this shot is that he does hear a kind of odd noise that I'm going to play for you guys right now. And we never really get a result of what this shot is, though it's pretty obvious that it's likely some kind of Illithid creature, whether that there be their intellect devourers or perhaps changed citizens themselves will be up to your imagination. We then get a long sequence of very visually depicting how a person is transformed into an Illithid. And for those of you who don't know, you're very much aware now. What they don't show actually is that the human that was infected and turned into an illithid had to have encountered an illithid before, and they actually deposit larvae that crawl into the person's ear and infest their brain until they're ready to mature. And it looks like this kind of attack is also harvesting of the citizens of Baldur's Gate to turn them into illithids, so there must have been some kind of subterfuge or illithids posing as regular humans that allowed these larvae to crawl into these humans beforehand. And with that, our main character is now a bomb-ass illithid who levitates away from the scene, and we can actually see that the entire city itself has been transformed during this transformation as well. It is completely dark, there's ash everywhere, and we do not see a living soul in this city who is not become an illithid. And in the background of this shot, we can actually see dozens of humans that have been turned into illithids floating up to another kind of far realm creature. Now, I'm not sure if this is just a new take on an elder brain, as elder brains don't typically have tentacles like this is portrayed, whether it's something like a vampire squid or other illithid creation, or perhaps even a new giant creature that's coming from the far realm itself. We don't know right now, but it's clear that this is where all of the new mind flayers are going, and potentially is their center point for attack. As what else is clear from this trailer is that the illithids are likely to be our main antagonist for Baldur's Gate 3. I mean, the new logo for Baldur's Gate even has an illithid on it, so it's probably the main focus of the story, and it's actually one that can take us in a number of different directions. The illithids come from a place called the Far Realm, where all of these monstrous creatures come from. The illithid are responsible for a dozen creation of new races that are in the Forgotten Realms, like the Duragar or the Shleblin. Any number of atrocities that have been portrayed are because of these Far Realm creatures. In addition to this, we may see things such as the Githyanki and the Githzerai, who are known as fierce enemies of the Mind Flayers who live on the astral plane. And we could be recruiting allies from any number of realms, as Mind Flayers are known throughout the lands as one of the most evil, horrible people. And that is unfortunately pretty much all the information we have on Baldur's Gate 3 right now, as it was just officially announced. I assume we'll get plenty more, and with the new released Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus campaign, perhaps there is a tie-in between the two, but time will tell. I want to hear about any more theories you guys have about the new Baldur's Gate game that's coming, or just your favorite Baldur's Gate quote in the comments below. Please give me a like, favorite, and subscribe if you want to hear more things about Dungeons & Dragons or Baldur's Gate in general. I am RPGMD, writing your prescription for all things Dice, Dragons, and Gaming, and I'll be seeing you guys next week.